Hello everyone, welcome to William and the Magic Box. Today on our show, we are going to have Jayson. Jayson is from Texas in the USA. So let's see what Jayson has to say. Enjoy the interview. Hello Jayson.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing quite well, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks so much for taking time on Sunday morning for the interview.
Of course, my pleasure.
Very good, very good. Jayson, before we start the game, just tell me, where are you from?
I am originally from Princeton, Texas, so that's northeast of Dallas, about 40 miles or so.
Okay, and what do you do for a living?
I sell cars.
Oh, wow, interesting. Tell me, what's the most interesting thing about your job?
Gosh, the most interesting thing about my job, I guess that I get to work with such a variety of people. It's DFW, the Dallas-Fort Worth area, is a big melting pot, and it's growing very rapidly. So all manner of people come through the door, and you just never know who you're going to sell a car to, including sometimes famous people. So it's
wow.
You get a kick out of it. Yeah.
Amazing. And right, and I believe it's always busy for you. There's always people coming in to see the cars and everything.
Oh, for sure. Especially, now you can't get microchips to make new cars. So we deal in certified cars that are pre-owned. So there's a huge market for those because you can't get the new ones.
Very interesting, very interesting. Right, and before we start this journey called William and the Magic Box, I would like you to tell me something interesting about yourself.
And something interesting about myself. I am a singer. Oh gosh, I have a very strange I have a very good memory for things like numbers, which kind of makes me good at my job, I guess.
I'm sure.
I have a huge interest in science, and I am, as you can see by my Facebook profile picture and by this cup, I am an extreme Tim Burton fan. Extreme.
Wow. Very
the Nightmare Before Christmas.
Very good, very good. Okay, Jayson. So, welcome to William and the Magic Box. Ready to go on a beautiful journey through your memories in life and to share your point of views?
Sure.
Amazing. I'm just gonna play a song now just for us to move a little bit before the first question, okay?
Okay.
Let's do it. Right, before I pick up the first question, just to let you know, if there is a question you don't have an answer for, you don't want to answer, I always can change, okay? I can take another one, okay? All very friendly.
Okay.
Great. The first question for you is, if you could change something in yourself, what that would be and why?
Something about myself?
Yeah.
Oh, my body.
Tell me about it. Why?
Oh, I have lost a huge amount of weight. And so my body, from here to here is great. From the waist down, super good. And in the middle, it's a show. So I would definitely have some plastic surgery so I could, take my shirt off at the beach without offending people.
Oh my God, you're so honest. I love it. Next question. Let's do it. What's the weather look like this morning in your town?
Oh, it is a little bit gloomy. It is around 70 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's just trying to spit rain. A little bit cloudy, no sunshine. So it's almost seems autumnal, although it's a little bit too warm for me.
I see. All right. Next question for you is, which question you wouldn't have an answer for?
Oh my goodness. I cannot explain American politics. There's no answer for that.
Good one.
Can't explain it. There's no answer for that.
To be honest, not just America, but I think everywhere in the world.
This could be true. I just look at us and I think I'm a little bit embarrassed.
good answer. Very good. Next question. Let's do it. What you drinking?
Oh, H2O, good old water. I've already had my. I'm normally a highly caffeinated person, like extremely caffeinated person. So I have water for every coffee that I have. Otherwise, I'm nuts.
So tell me a little bit about your mug. You said you are a big fan of the...
So I'm a big fan of Tim Burton, everything Tim Burton. But The Nightmare Before Christmas has been my favorite movie for ever since it came out, and I literally watch it at least once a week. And I have all manner of memorabilia. I'm not a person who collects a lot of stuff, but I have mugs, and my boyfriend purchased bedclothes for my bed that are all about Jack and Sally and the story of that. So anything Tim Burton, I'm a huge fan of, for sure.
Very good. Okay, next question for you is, what makes you most uncomfortable about yourself?
About myself, I talk too much.
Welcome to the club.
I talk too much. It's a constant thing. I've worked on it all my life. I have a deplorable excessive personality, and so it makes me good at my job, but I talk way too much.
What's your star sign, just for curiosity?
Oh, Aquarius.
Interesting, very interesting. Actually, I had a guest on the show. He's Aquarius as well, and he said the same thing as well. He couldn't stop talking.
Yeah, truth.
Next one, let's do it. Oh, I like your moves. You like it?
I am not a dancer.
I just saw your tattoo here. Tell me about your tattoo you have here in your arm.
So my tattoo, it's a little bit twisted. It is actually a street light.
Ah.
So I draw all of my tattoos, and so I drew this one, and it comes from a song that my sister wrote.
Oh wow!
And from one of the lyrics, yes.
Right. And before the next question, would you like to tell me a little bit about your singing career or passion? Tell me a little about it.
I have always been a singer. My scholarship to go to college was for singing, and I'm lucky enough that my sister, who is a notable songwriter, I'm lucky enough that I can sing with her, and I have sung on her record and things like that. So I enjoy doing that. I'm fortunate that I get to do it, on occasion still.
What's her name?
Her name is Heather Little.
Wow.
Heather Little. So she is she has written songs for people like Miranda Lambert and for Casey Musgraves and things like that. So her songs are well known. She can still walk down the street and be anonymous, but her work is very well known, and she's very, very good at her craft and a wonderful singer in her own right.
Amazing. If I would ask you in the end of the interview to sing a little bit, are you prepared for that? If I knew I would ask you to prepare, are you okay? If I would ask you
I will sing at the drop of a hat. I am not shy.
Hey, very good. I'm happy now. I'm happy. Next question for you is, what was your favorite thing to do as a kid?
Oh, fishing.
Oh, really?
Fishing. So yeah, I'm a gay redneck. So my mom and I call me a pink neck. So the Western wear and the outdoorsy stuff, anything outside, but fishing, absolutely, for sure. Fishing with my dad in the boat for catfish every summer until I was sunburned. You put a fishing rod in my hand and I'm the happiest boy on earth, even at my age. So for sure.
Oh wow! So you still practice fishing activity?
Oh, absolutely. Anytime I get a chance. Absolutely.
And do you find like as a therapy as well for you to get away of your normal days?
Oh yes, I don't have to think about anything in the world if I'm fishing, if I'm outside doing something. It's the one way that I can decompress. Yeah, one way I can decompress.
Very good. Next question for you. Let's do it, Jayson. Right, next question for you is, let's see this one. If someone come up to you and give an envelope, with your death date inside, would you open it or not, and why?
Oh, I would open it.
Really?
I would open it. I hope. Number one, I don't like surprises. I'm a very planful person, proper planning prevents piss poor performance. So I think my sister says not having knowledge removes choice. And so I would be able to choose better. I would do more bungee jumping. I would do more fishing. I would spend more time probably with my family. That's something that I regret anyway. I would do all the things. I have a few things on my bucket list, and I would make sure that I did those things.
Wow, very interesting, very interesting. Yeah. And I'll tell you something now. It's very interesting about this question, Jayson, because when I started doing the show, this question, most of the people, they would say no. And at one point, I thought to myself, I think I'm going to get rid of this question. And actually, you're not the first person who says that. And actually, I had a surprise of people saying, yes, I would open it. And they say why, like you just explained now. So I think it's very interesting how people, they are different. I'm just so fascinated with the answer, the explanation. But one point, when I started doing the shooting, I almost took off these questions of the magic box because people, they were saying no, and one point people started saying yes. I was like, oh, there we go. I'm very glad that I didn't take it out of the magic box, because it's very interesting how people, they have their point of views, you know what I mean? The whole magic of the show is about, you know what I mean, you sharing your point of views, and I love it when people answer to questions that I was expecting, that, you know what I mean, that kind of, oh no, I'm sure these people are going to say no, and actually I'm very surprised, and I love it. Very interesting.
I'm surprised also.
Next question, let's do it. Before the next one, tell me, as you're a gay man, you always had the support of your family being gay?
I instantly had the support of my mother. As a matter of fact, when I told her that about myself, her words were, you know, I always thought you were, but then you got married, and I thought, well, my gaydar is broken. That's all she said, because I got married when I was very young, because I didn't know that about myself. I thought there was something wrong with me, but I thought it was something else. Some other members of my family, no. My sister didn't care. My brother did not care. So I was lucky mostly that, and also I didn't really care that much what people thought of me, luckily.
And are you okay to talk about that? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'll talk about it.
Very good. So tell me, what was the moments, or when you realized you were like, okay, I need to come out, I need to talk about that? What was something that happened to you, or you just felt like pressurized? Tell me a little bit. Walk me through the day.
So let's see. I think. Well, I was actually kind of forced out of the closet, so to speak. I confided in a younger cousin of mine who was an older teenager, and she spilled the beans, and it got my grandmother angry with me, and those kinds of things. And so that was unpleasant. But I guess I always knew that I was, you know, attracted to men my entire life, from probably age 9. And but I'm from a small town in Texas, and so I was always told that gay men wanted to be women. They wanted to dress as women. They were girly. They, you know, I have my moments, but they don't, you know, they wanted to have sex changes. And I thought, well, you know, I'm not that, because I like to fish and do stuff and, you know, boy stuff and be outside and get dirty and sweaty and gross. And I thought, well, God, you know, there's not even a name for what I am. And then when I was maybe, I don't know, after I got divorced from my ex-wife, I realized, I actually think I saw a Robert Mapplethorpe book, and I went, hang on a minute. Oh, I'm totally queer. I didn't think that's what I was. And I realized, oh, well, there's actually is a name for it. I mean, people called me, you know, the F word from the time I was 8. I think that's mostly because I was a sweet kid, but yeah, I didn't know that about myself until I got out into the metropolitan world and was exposed to some things, and I went, oh yeah, that's me.
Oh, that's it. I think all of us, we go through those, you know what I mean, moments in life. And I remember as well, being a child, I remember I was as a young teenager. I remember I loved going to the church when I was a child, and I remember praying during the mass, like asking to not to have those thoughts because it was wrong, you know what I mean, my mind, and I didn't know what was going on with me. And I remember praying because I said, no, I don't want to have these feelings because I didn't know. And actually, I had the same kind of stereotype that you as well think, like a gay man, I didn't like be a woman or a sex change, all those things as well. And I knew I wasn't like that, and I could understand. I didn't have knowledge. When you don't have knowledge, you don't know what's going on. It's difficult for you to find yourself. Mm-hmm. And I remember like praying, you know what I mean? Actually, my mom thought I would be a priest when I was a child because I was in the church all the time. And I loved being in the church. For me, it was a lovely time for me to be there. I just loved the energy of being in the church, but I didn't have the gifts of being a priest. But I just loved the energy of being in the church. And I remember praying like, during the mass, oh God, just take this away from me, because I could understand what was happening with me at the time when the puberty starts, you know what I mean? You start having those feelings. But and when you don't have information, it's a very let's say dangerous place to be, because you know what I mean, find yourself in situations that you don't know how to deal, and your life goes on and on, and you know what I mean, if you don't get the knowledge, you might end up sad, or you know what I mean, moments in your life that you don't understand.
Oh. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I married the person who was my best friend.
You see?
And ruined that. I would probably still be friends with her to this very day if I had not gotten married to her at 19 years old, which was a dumb thing to do.
Yeah.
But when you're 19, you know everything, obviously.
Of course.
Obviously. So yeah, that was kind of a regret. Actually, I ran into her recently, which was shocking.
As the person as you are at the moment, like you know yourself, you know what you like, you are very well resolved. When you look back, do you think you would change something or not? You would go through everything until this moment because you know the person you are. Would you change something or not?
I don't think I would change a whole lot of things because every experience that every experience that I've had in life has led me to this good place. And I'm a person who desires to be more sober, by the way, and someone who was going through treatment for alcohol addiction said to me, I needed every drink I ever took to get me right here.
Wow.
And to the place where you're the bottom, maybe. And I was like, you applied that to life, and it really struck a chord with me, because you need all the things, all the ugly that happens to you. I'm not a kind of person who says everything happens for a reason, in that way, cosmically, but everything that happens to us influences our next decision or our next destination, whether it's a physical destination or a destination in here. So that for sure.
All right, good. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. Thank you very much. Okay, next question for you is, if you could be an animal, which one that would be and why?
An animal. Oh, this is easy. I am obsessed with bats. I would be a bat. Bat. Yes. Obsessed. I have a friend who's the zookeeper, and I keep telling him, just bring me a bat. Robbie, if you're out there, bring me a bat. I think they're fascinating. There's so many different kinds, and especially here in Texas, we have the Mexican free-tail bat. There are millions and millions of them, and they do something for the world. They do something to my soul. I love them so much.
Two questions for you. You always had this fascination with bats, and tell me something interesting that most of the people, they don't know about bats, like that you find very interesting about them.
Well, vampire bats, for example, can walk very well on their hind legs. There was a researcher recently who trained them to walk on a treadmill. I thought that was really interesting. Some of them, like the Mexican free-tail bats, they subsist on almost completely on mosquitoes, which of course are disease-bearing. There's so many things about them. There's some bats in the world are no bigger than a dollar coin here in the U.S., and then some of them can have a wingspan of 6 feet. I just think it's amazing, the variety about them.
Very good. I'm so glad this question came up to you. I'm very glad. Very glad. Next question, Jayson. Let's do it. Next question for you is, what makes you most proud?
Most proud. Ooh, I'm going to share something.
Ooh.
So, I'm trying to think about the calendar. What makes me most proud? I have AIDS, and I have had this disease for almost 28 years. And I'm very proud to, number one, to still be here. But I'm proud that we have, as a community, a medical community, been able to develop therapeutics that no longer mean we're going to die. Because when I was first diagnosed, there was nothing but AZT, and you had to take so much of it, it was poisonous. And it's bittersweet, but I'm proud to still be here. And I'm proud that that it's more accepted in, you know, our in the mainstream part of our in the mainstream world. You know, you see commercials now on regular television here in the United States for not only for PrEP but for therapeutics for HIV, and that was something that, you know, in the 90s you would never see an ad for Indinavir on television during a soap opera. You just wouldn't see it. So I don't wear it like a badge, but I don't hesitate to ever say to my coworkers or anybody else, you know, this is the truth about me. Number one, I'm not going to kick over tomorrow. And number two, if you know 10 people, you probably know somebody who's gay. And if you know 10 gay people, you probably know somebody, especially if they're flirting with 50 like I am, they probably know somebody who has HIV or AIDS. And now, because it's more accepted, we need to, you know, normalize it. And, you know, there are people who are still wildly ignorant about the disease. And
Yes.
Regrettably, a lot of it is young people now too, and it's so dangerous. But I'm very proud to still be here, and I'm proud of myself for finally being brave enough to say that where I would never before. And I don't know what the impetus for change was.
Wow. First of all, thanks so much for opening up something very personal about yourself. Thanks so much for to say what you said. It's just so beautiful what you just said right now, because I think nowadays people, they actually last night I went for dinner. I went to my friend's house for dinner. We were talking about that actually, and you were talking about how much nowadays like the information around is there. You know, when I go out there, like in London, I go to work, or you know what I mean. I see on the overground, I see on the tube, I see like in the buses, like information about PrEP, about HIV, like in the bus stops as well, some kind of a advertisement. I'm like, my God, how amazing to see these people talking about. And it's not it's not something that's scary anymore. It's something that's people nowadays, they approach in a very let's say more like understanding way, you know what I mean? People approaching now about that. And actually I had so many interviews on this show, and people like they talk about like so open, like so natural, even like nowadays sometimes when you go to those apps like dating apps or whatever, people they put themselves about if they are HIV positive, and how it's so natural, it's so normal now to see that. For me, I was like, wow, it's so amazing to see how people, as you said, you know, so many people around, and they are so open about that. They talk about that so openly, because nowadays it's something normal to talk about. It's not something that, oh my God, you know what I mean? It's not like something that you don't talk on normal days, you know what I mean? Nowadays it's a normal topic to talk about, and when people say that, it sounds normal. When people say that, it come across like a normal. Okay, really? Oh, okay. It's not like about people. They don't look at you anymore like in a, you know what I mean? Like in a concerned away or anything. They just look at you. Okay, it's not even something to mention or something to kind of be aware. It's just come naturally about conversation nowadays in the gay scene, mostly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Nice. Very good. Thank you very much. Next question, Jayson. Ready?
Yep.
Let's do it. Before the next one, I would like to tell me what's the best part of your job and what's the most challenging part?
The best part of my job is the feeling you get when you sell a particular person a car. For example, you sell a young man or woman their very first car that they've ever purchased on their own. And so we have the thing where we put a huge yellow bow on the car so it looks like it's, you know, a gift. You take their picture. There's sometimes, you know, there's tears, or they're so happy. Giving the person the keys and making them happy is the very best part of the job. It happens, you know, sometimes multiple times a day, and I get a big kick out of it. And I guess the most challenging part of my job is the second part of my job. I do sell cars, but I work for a company called CarMax, and we buy cars from people. And you know, we're glad to purchase a car. We take it off their hands. We'll either resell it or we might auction it. But anyway, sometimes, actually several times a week, someone comes in with a car that belonged to their mother or their father who is gone or can no longer drive it. And it's a very, very tenuous, emotional time for me. And I'm very, very tenderhearted and sweet. And I am tougher than everyone else, but I will cry at the drop of a hat. So you get some elderly man in there who is selling his wife's car, and he's trying not to be emotional. And I get through it, and then I have to go into the break room and go, oh, and then I'm okay again. But I'm providing a service, but I'm so tenderhearted. That is the most challenging part for me, is keeping it together and being brave in that way. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Okay, next question for you is, what's the worst first date have you ever been on?
Oh, this is easy. I was telling this story yesterday to a friend of mine. Let's see. So for a while, I was dating mostly younger people who were too young for me. My boyfriend right now is my age, actually a few months older. And I discovered that I preferred that, but it took me a long time. I was on this date with this young gentleman who I will call Patrick. He was about 11 to 12 years my junior, and we started talking on one of the stupid apps. It was probably Scruff or maybe Grindr, but we started talking, and he asked about my interests. You know, he bothered to, you know, want to get to know me instead of just, you know, sending pictures back and forth. And I was like, man, this guy's really into me. So one of my interests, and I share this with my sister, is I love crime and serial killer documentaries and information. And I've been obsessed with it for probably 30 years. And he's like, oh, me too, man. Yeah, let's talk about all the things. And we were talking about, you know, people who get away with it. And you know, this was on our date. I wonder how many people have gotten away with it. And then I'm like, I don't know. And he says, how would you do it if you were going to get away with it? And I answered him really quickly. And I am a scientist by training, a biological scientist by training. And I basically said, and it was a joke, but I said I would probably, once I create the corpse, I would reduce it to manageable sized pieces, freeze dry it, and put it in capsules and sell it as a supplement. He left the table to go to the bathroom, and he never came back. And I was like, maybe I overshared. And that was the last time I went out with someone who was extremely a lot younger than I am.
That's the reason why you stopped dating younger guys?
I just realized that I had a string of them that were One of them was 17 years younger than me, and that's good for a taste, but not for a swallow. That's not something that you want to, not something that I can do long term, because not only do I not get all the pop culture references, but that person literally is a generation removed from me. And I would talk about things from the 70s, and he would look at me and say, "That's not a thing." And it really is a thing. We both had to do a lot of Googling, and that took away from our other time.
I'm so glad this question came up to you. My God, that's so funny. I love it.
Serial killers on the date.
To be honest, if I would go on a date with someone like that, I would be a bit concerned as well. Like, if you would say something like that, I don't think I would run away the way he did, but I would be with my eyes open all the time with your moves, all the time.
You'd be looking at me at the corner of your eye the entire time.
I'll be
I wish I could have sucked the words back into my mouth, but it was too late. I couldn't get them back.
I would send a message to my best friend. I said, "You know what? I'm on a date with this guy, but just to let you know, I'm gonna send my location just to let you know that if something goes wrong, there we go. At least you know."
Yeah, I'll drop a pin on the map and say, "Come and get me." Yeah.
Next question. Jason from Texas writes, "What makes you laugh out loud?"
Oh, Family Guy makes me laugh out loud. The way people talk in East Texas is next level. People with their turns of phrase in East Texas, it's crazy. They say things that other people don't even understand. Phrases like, "You want to turn thanks? You want to turn thanks?" That means turn thanks. That means, do you want to say grace?
Have something
like
else.
Say a prayer. They'll say, oh my gosh, things like, instead of saying "you need to do that again," they say "you need to lick your calf over."
Oh my God, that's interesting.
You need to lick your calf over. Or phrases, things that my grandma would say. She'd say, "I can't sing for shit. And if I was singing for shit, I wouldn't even get a smell," because she was tone deaf. Things that people say around here that if you transported them to someplace like, I don't know, Dayton, Ohio, or to Glasgow or to London, they would just look at you as if you had three heads, and they literally wouldn't understand, the words in at all. Even regular phrases like, in the United States, we have Social Security. Well, in East Texas, they say Social Security. Social Security. Or they don't say President of the United States, they say President of the United States.
Wow.
And it's like their mouths are full of cotton balls or marbles or something. And it's their turn of phrase. It's never ending. Every single day, I think of something that I've either heard or I hear something, and I go, only people who live here would understand that, because you wouldn't understand it anywhere else. East Texas. Yep.
Interesting. Very good. Very good. Next question, Jason. Let's do it. Before the next one, tell me when was the moment when you realized that you could sing? You are a singer. There was a moment or some influence in your family?
So my mother could sing and play the guitar. She used to sing beautifully to me as long as I could remember as a small child. That's probably why she could sing. She probably would influence me to sing. When I was about 9 years old, I started teaching my younger sister, who is the songwriter, to harmonize with me. And so we had a tape recorder, and we would make tapes and send them to my grandmother or play them for my grandmother. And it was Christmas songs, or it was church music, things like that. And then we really got into R&B type music when we were older. But I guess probably age 8 or 9 years old, I really thought, you know what, I can actually sing, but it was a secret. We didn't have a choir program at my very small school, and the first time I sang in public in front of any of my friends or peers was when I was 17 at my brother's wedding. I was really, really shy about it. People already made fun of me for being smart and for being in band and for being nice and I guess for being queer. I didn't want one more thing for them to make fun of me about, but then I stopped caring about that. And that was probably age 8 or 9, maybe.
Good one. Right. Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
5 years' time. Oh, goodness. I would love to have a husband. And if my sweetie sees this, please don't panic. I'm not buying you jewelry. He doesn't want jewelry anyway. He wants a PS5, PlayStation 5. He's made that abundantly clear. I would love to be married. I am really tired of apartment living. I would like to have a townhome or something of my very own. I would like to, I'm actually trying to climb the ladder at work. So I'm taking steps to increase, to go to the next level. So I would like to maybe have a corporate job at my current company. I hate changing companies. I don't like changing employment. As an Aquarian, I'm not into that. Yeah, I would like to climb the ladder. I would love to have my forever person. And, simple things. I have an ambition to record an album and also, so that's something I'd love to do in the next couple of years. And I would like to, I do a fair bit of charity work, so I would like to donate some of the proceeds of that to different kinds of charities.
Amazing. Hey, Zan, I have 3 questions left for you, okay?
Okay.
Let's do it. Next question for you is, what is the best and the worst of being yourself?
The best thing about being myself is that, this is going to sound, I don't know how this is going to sound. The best thing about being myself is that I'm funny, naturally funny, but I can make myself laugh. So being funny, a lot of I get customer reviews on Facebook and on Google Review from my customers, and they always talk about how, oh my God, I feel like I just bought a car from Robin Williams, or, this dude is the funniest man I've ever seen. I can't believe I had this much fun, buying a car, because that's normally a stressful situation. So the best thing about being me, I guess, is being funny. I have a lot of fun, even when I'm by myself, even when I'm here with my little doggy, we have a lot of fun. You said the best and the worst. I am my own worst critic. I am very, very, very hard on myself. We have in life, we seem to, as people, we seem to forgive other people. We are forgiving of others. If you and I were best friends and you pissed me off, I would forgive you. We are all, I think, more hesitant to offer forgiveness to ourselves, which is the kind of forgiveness that we need the most. And so mistakes that I have made, or things that I have regretted in the past, I've had a hard time forgiving myself. I criticize myself a lot, whether it's my artwork or my music or how I performed at work or how I handled an interpersonal situation. I will really, really beat myself up. And that's the worst thing about being me, is I should be more kind to myself and more loving of myself.
Absolutely. Try to use to get used to go to your show. They go like, Jayson, you're doing well.
It's gonna be okay.
Yes.
You're doing a good job. You need to get in the mirror and practice that.
2 questions left. Let's do it. Before the next question, tell me a situation in your job that's it starts like, let's say that you straight away you could see that the client wouldn't buy the car for some reason, but you turn around and in the end of the day you kind of made a good deal. Do you have any situation, or the opposite side as well? You thought that would be like a good sell and suddenly things didn't go the way you expected. There is a situation that you remember you can share or not like that?
Oh, for sure. I had a young lady come in who had not been on her job very long, and she had just become a nurse, and she was very excited about her career. And she came in and did a finance application, and she was approved, but they needed a huge amount of money down, and her mother was with her. And I didn't think anything was going to happen with it. But her mother was with her, and the mother said, "Can I talk to you for a minute?" And she said, "Can you give me a little while to get some down payment money?" I said, "Are you talking about days?" She goes, "No, an hour." And I was like, "Well, okay, you can come up with $3,400 in an hour. I wish I could make that kind of money." And I said, sure. I didn't think that, that was going to happen. And, I advocate for my customers, and I want them to, really I want to do a good job and have them be satisfied. And because it's literally my job. To make a long story short, unbeknownst to me, this young lady had just graduated from nursing school, which was a big deal because she was the only one who ever went to college in her family. And and she was estranged from her father and hadn't seen him in 14 years. The mother walked back in with all of this money, and the girl freaked out. And she's like, "Mommy, you can't spend this money. You cannot spend this money. I won't let you spend this money." And she said, "Hush your mouth." And so we did the deal. And when I walked out to the drive aisle, which is where we present the vehicle, her father was standing there.
Oh my God.
I have goosebumps on my arms right now.
Look, me too, goosebumps right now.
Yes. She collapsed onto the ground, and all she could say was, "That's my daddy, that's my daddy, that's my daddy." And I always check in with my customers after they purchase, a few days after, to make sure they like it and to, let them know that I'm still here if they need me. And I contacted the mother, and I said, "How does she like the car?" And she said she loves it. I said, "What was the deal with the dad?" She said she hadn't seen him in 14 years. And I called him up and I said, "You haven't done anything for this child, and she has achieved something monumental. You better come through right now." And he showed up. And now the daughter and the father are talking. And that was the most, I didn't do anything to influence it other than say, "Of course you can have time to get your money." But that was one of the best days at work I've ever had, seeing something like that makes you smile. And still to this day, it'll make a little tear in my eye and give me goosebumps. Wow. That is what the best part of my job, and that's why I stay there.
That's beautiful. My God.
Yes.
Oh my God. That's beautiful. Wow, Jayson. Yeah. Amazing. Look, the next question now. You're not going to believe the next question now, what came up to you. And I still have goosebumps. What makes you feel very sentimental?
Oh my goodness. My grandmother. My grandmother is 91 years old, and she is in a nursing facility. She's in a care home. I think that's how you would say it. She's in care now. She's 91, and she has trouble speaking, and she has had, a stroke event. And as a child, when things were not going well at home because my home was broken, she was my mother when sometimes my mother wasn't available to be one. She's the brightest star in my sky. I know no matter where I am in the world or when she's gone, I will always be able to look up and see her. She's probably the smartest person I've ever known, and the funniest person I've ever known. And if I could live 1,000 years, I wouldn't be able to tell her all of the ways that she has touched me, all the things that she's taught me. There's 2 million times a day when I think of her, and I could probably write 1,000 pages about little moments that no one else would even appreciate, but I do.
Oh.
She gave me my blue eyes and my smarts, and tons of forgiveness and all the love in the world. And that is the thing that makes me the most sentimental these days. Ooh,
Oh, Jayson,
you
for
got
sure,
me.
for sure,
You got me.
I'm sure she'll be very happy to know that, to feel that, and I think connection with grandmothers can be a big thing as well. I could tell a story as well with my grandmother. My latest, I've got one grandmother still alive, but I was very connected with my grandmother from my mom's side, and she actually, when she passed away, I was in London already, living in London. And I always felt very connected with her. I never forget one moment when I was 7 years old. She used to call my son. She called me my son. She said, "Oh, my son, come here."
Oh.
And I never forget this moment, Jayson. She came up to me. She took my hand and said to me, "My son, I'm gonna tell you something now for you." Goosebumps are coming, by the way.
Oh.
And she said to me, "My son, I'm gonna tell you something now. Every night when you go to bed, and every morning before you get up of bed, close your eyes and be thankful for everything that you have in your life. Be thankful for people around you, and believe me, ask protection as well, because believe me, nothing bad's gonna happen to you. Nothing. You're gonna go through tough times in your life, but nothing's gonna hit you in a way that you're gonna be always protected." Guess what? Since that day, and I'm gonna die doing that every single morning. I cannot get up of bed without have this moment that she taught me at the time. And never. Every morning, and actually every evening as well, before I literally, when my alarm goes off, or I close my eyes and I have this moment with myself, asking God for protection, asking for to be blessed and to have a good day. And because of her, since that day until like forever, I have this moment with her, like because of her. And the moment when she passed away, I remember she had a stroke, and she spent like at least 2 or 3 weeks in bed, in a hospital bed. Like she couldn't like even move her eyes. She couldn't have any reaction. And sometimes I was calling my mom. My mom was by her side until the end. And I was calling my mom sometimes to talk. And I remember the last time when I called her was 1 week before she passed, or a few days before she passed away. I called her, my mom, and my mom was a bit sad of the phone. I said, "Mom, just put the phone on her ear, just for me to say how much I love her, how much you know what I mean, I appreciate and I remember her." And I'll tell you something, Jayson. My mom started crying straight away. My mom said to me, "My son, you cannot imagine what's happening right now." The tears of her eyes was coming through, like her eyes. And until then, she didn't have any reaction at all. Like people were talking to my mom, was talking to her all the time, and she didn't have any reaction. But as soon as I started talking to her, her tears was coming from her eyes. That's the only reaction she had. So for me, it was a moment that I'll never forget of my grandma. Then she passed away I think, or 2 days after that. But my mom couldn't stop crying, because my mom said to me, "Oh my God," it was just powerful to see that, because I couldn't have any reaction from her at all, like at all. I was talking to her, I was, you know what I mean, I was by her side. She knew, the doctor said she knew she was, you know what I mean, she had some conscience, but she couldn't move anything. And so it was something very, very, for me, I'll never forget that. And the connection I have with her will be always, in this legacy that she taught me, I'll always carry with me. So I totally know what you mean. Sometimes, you know what I mean, we have so much connection with our grandmother. She's the second mom that we always gonna have, you know what I mean? And they're gonna be there for us, you know what I mean? They're gonna be there, and it's so powerful. I think
Absolutely.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
That's wonderful advice that she gave you. I think if everyone did that, the whole world would probably, everyone's day would be different. Everyone's world would be different.
Totally.
Sorry,
totally.
I had to stand up.
That's okay. Ready for the last question?
Yep.
Let's do it, Jayson from Texas. Let's do it. Before the last question, I must say, Jayson, that I'm so glad that you accept my invitation. I think we meant to do this interview a few weeks ago, and I'm glad that it happened today, because I think we got to you know what I mean? We had the opportunity to talk about so much topics that I'm very glad. I learned a lot with you, so you know what I mean? Just through this conversation. And that's what this project is about. It's about connecting with people. And I'm so glad we had that because, you know what I mean? These emotions, you're so open, you're so open to talk about things. And yeah, I'm so glad that. Thanks so much for this.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it a lot.
But before the last question, I would like to tell me, you know, since last year when the world went upside down, you know what I mean, with the COVID situation, what's the most positive thing you took out of this challenge journey so far?
I think probably realizing that my family and I can rely on each other more. My dad has a ranch in West Texas, and it's about 4.5 hours drive each way, and he chose to stay out there instead of being in town among people to be safe. And so I had to help take care of his house, and I stayed there for a while. I was, you know, paying his phone bill and mowing the yard, and it was very hard for him to ask for help because he's very, very independent. So I think getting out of our comfort zones a little bit might have brought more people close together. There are people who need things that never needed them before. I know that I did shopping for people, for neighbors. I cooked for people sometimes, and things that they would never have asked me to do, but they got out of their comfort zones and said, hey, you know, I need your help. Can you help me out? And I was able to do that. And I was glad to, but yeah, getting out of our comfort zones, I think that helped not only me, but probably everyone a little bit, you know, and also help just gratitude, being grateful for the things that you have, and realizing that, you know, you take a lot of things for granted, for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Last question for you is, what is the biggest difference between you and your best friends?
Between me and my best friend, I am 248,000% extrovert, and my best friend is extremely introverted, would never ever draw attention to himself, might speak in public, but would probably prefer not. So I will sing in front of 10,000 people. He would never ever entertain the notion of doing that. So opposites, but we have the same sense of humor. Like together, we are both. We're both very analytical and scientific, and we talk about things that other people wouldn't understand, and we joke about things that other people wouldn't understand. But as far as extroverted, no, absolutely not.
The big difference.
It does.
Not the end yet. Let's play now the word association game. I'm going to give away some words, and just tell me one word that comes to your mind. Quick thinking, okay?
Okay.
Life.
Peace.
Love.
Devotion.
Money.
Evil.
Family.
Love.
Sex.
Desert.
Politics.
Crazy.
Religion.
Careful.
Fear.
Dune. I just watched it.
Friendship.
Care.
Desire.
Love.
Regrets.
Useless.
Success.
Work.
Wish.
Longing.
Happiness.
Life.
One word for Texas.
Howdy.
And the last one now, USA.
USA. Prayers.
Let's pretend now I'm going to meet your best friend for a coffee, and I'm going to ask your best friend. Define Jayson, one positive word and one negative word. What do you think your best friend would define yourself?
Funny. Negative would be talkative. He will literally say, "Oh my God, I can't remember a time when you weren't talking."
Interesting.
Bless his heart.
Let's play now Jayson the Magic Box, and you can ask me a question. But you can ask me a question now, Jayson.
How do you get your teeth so white?
Right.
I have chemical burns on my gums from this morning. I don't understand how you do it. It actually pisses me off a little bit.
I think it's because of my color, my tongue color. That's why.
So I need to get some bronzer.
No, I'm gonna be honest to you. I actually had the whitening when I was like the first time I had whitening. I think was a few years ago, and for some reason I don't know why. I think it goes. It's you know what I mean. It just gets. I don't know. It just gets like easily. But I did whitening, and you know what I mean. Sometimes like I do once a year, just kind of. But to be honest to you, it's not something I just do the same thing that the other people do. It's just like I think it's because I don't know. It could be something the genetic. I don't know, but maybe it's the light.
I'm failing. I should spend less money on Botox and do more whitening. Yeah.
I haven't done Botox yet, so it's.
You don't need it. You don't need it.
Jayson, so before we go to the end of the show, I would like you, I'm going to ask you to sing, but before that, I would like to share just a positive message, a positive quote, something that inspires you in life.
Yeah, and if I were going to give a message to the world, I would say we live in a world where we are so in our phones and in our technology. It's really okay to go outside and stand in the sunshine. It's okay to check on your neighbor. It's okay to forgive people even when it's hard. And as we talked about before, it's really okay and very necessary to forgive ourselves. Yeah. Do all those things.
Let's be kind to ourselves. Start with that. Yeah.
Yes. Do ourselves.
Okay, Jayson, I would like to ask you to sing a little bit. I would like to hear your beautiful voice, please.
All right, so I'm going to sing about the tattoo. Never fall in love with the street lights, 'cause on the day they burn out, they'll probably wait around for some stranger to come and light him up again. And he'll shine like the moon on anyone for standing on the corner. You ain't special, you ain't different, you ain't no one. You ain't no one. Oh.
Hey, beautiful. Jayson, it was a pleasure. Thanks so much for sharing your life. Thanks so much for being so open and to encourage people, you know what I mean, to encourage people to be themselves as well and to inspire people out there as well. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. I'm so glad that we had this moment together.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
You keep in touch, okay? All the best for you and we keep in touch, okay? Enjoy
Thank you.
Weekend.
Happy Sunday.
Take care. Bye-bye.
So, did you like the show? Don't forget to give a like, share it, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to be part of the show as well, first, subscribe to our channel, and after that, just go to our website, www.williamandthemagicbox.com, and send us a request saying why you'd like to be part of the show. And I see you there. Bye bye, see you next time.